Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Transformational Storyteller Show. I am so happy that you're here with me today and for all of your support. I have to say that you make my day every single day. And today I have a guest with me as usual. And this guest is fantastic. You're going to love her. And we're about the same size. So now you know that that we are really like-minded and like-heighted at the same time. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Alina. Nice to see you.
Well, nice to see you too. And I'm so happy that I get to share you with my lovely online family. So let me tell you a little bit about Lynn. She's a mother of five. She's a grandmother of 16. Ah, and are you ready? Great grandmother of 19. This is just amazing. And then, if you were surprised by that, here's another one. She's a great grandmother of one. Oh my goodness. Wow. So Lynn helps people heal mind body diseases through holistic healing practices. And we're going to be talking about this a little more. And these practices include mindful breathing, energy focusing, identifying and dissolving fears, which is what her the Gifts of Pain chapter is about. And these fears are often subconscious. And she helps people also to to develop unwavering faith. So we're going to talk more about Lynn. But first, Lynn, would you be so kind and gracious as to share your transformational story with our audience today?
Thank you. Within weeks of my father's return from World War II, my joy and enthusiasm for life just died. My heart would pound as I would hide from his sight while frantically scratching the bleeding patch of psoriasis on my leg. At age 4, psoriasis was the first of many mind body diseases that I haunted me for years, each with its own unique symptoms. Excuse me. At age 18, I escaped my father's home while dragging my fears and the resulting disease symptoms with me. By age 45, I had developed painful, crippling arthritis symptoms that kept me awake at night and that would activate suicidal thoughts. Then, in the middle of a sleepless night, my mind questioned my throbbing legs and my right hand that was immobilized by a medically prescribed brace. What do you want me to do to relieve this pain? An answer immediately arose, along with three life changing revelations. My mind and body are intimately connected. Every component of my life, including health, education, relationships, parenting, and finances, have been orchestrated by my childhood fears. And fear is the foundation of all disease symptoms. These truthful revelations released me from the shackles of my childhood fears and realigned me with my loving eternal soul. After my transformation from a mindset of fear to a self confident, feeling awareness of divine faith, I detoxified the numbing effects of pharmaceuticals, healed my disease symptoms, achieved a master's degree in counseling psychology, and set out on a divinely orchestrated mission to help others heal their life. Today, I'm a healthy, great grandmother, a health coach, a hands on healing practitioner, and an inspirational writer and speaker.
Wow. That is incredible. Wow, how touching and all that you had to go through from such a young age. That is just so powerful. And I love all the nuggets that you shared with me. And we're gonna talk more about that, about fear and faith. But before we go to that, would you be willing to share why do you think it's so important to share our stories and your process in sharing this story in the gifts of pain?
Well, when I shared this story in the Gifts of Pain, I so appreciated your coaching, Alina, and how we actually put it into a good structure so that it would come across making sense in a short and concise way. I learned a lot from that.
Yeah. And why should we do that? Why should we tell our stories to the world? Why, or should we?
Well, I think it's important to tell our stories because other people then know that they're not alone when they have the same issues. And, they people, many people resonate with our same stories, and it helps them to also heal themselves and move forward in their life.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And so you talk about healing ourselves a lot, and that's something that was obvious in your chapter that you said you found out that fear was at the root of all of it. So, can you tell our audience a little bit more about this concept and about how you work with people?
Well, I guess I would just ask people to look at their own life in an honest way. And is there a gap between where they are today and living the life of their dreams? And I would ask you, do your fears block your dreams? Have your fears metastasized from your mind to your body? And most importantly, are your fears truthful and justifiable?
Tell more about that. How do we know if our fears are justifiable?
We need to ask ourselves, just go inside yourself and ask, okay, does this fear really make sense? It's like one of my fears was I couldn't learn. Now, was it true? No, it was just in my mind, I think stuck in my subconscious mind, I guess.
Yeah. How do we know? How do we know, or can we know that a fear is justifiable or true or not, if we believe it?
Well, I think it's when you bring it, most of those beliefs are subconscious, but bring it consciously to your mind, which is what my story and these stories are meant to do, is help you to think consciously about whether they're justifiable or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you give the audience like an example that they might be going through with regard to those fears so that they really understand what the difference is between a true and a justifiable fear and maybe a fear that doesn't make any sense?
Well, many people that I've worked with have been afraid, a similar fear. They're afraid to go to university or go to higher education because they're afraid they'll fail.
Mm,
And I was like that through all my university years, and it makes it difficult to learn.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Wow. So when you talk about, so that's obvious that the fear could potentially hinder our goals. But you talked about it metastasizing in our body. Can you share more about what that means and what that looks like in anyone's life?
Well, our bodies are designed to heal ourselves as we go, and our life love energy flows naturally in our body. So when you're in fear, you contract, and when you're in love and flow, you expand. So you can't have contraction and expansion at the same time.
Mm, yeah.
So,
What does contraction look like or sound like for those of my audience that don't know that terminology?
well, when we have a fear, I immediately can feel it. I think and then I know that this is a fear, and I know that it's not going to serve me in any good way.
Mm,
So it's just to be able to consciously recognize that.
yeah, yeah. So you feel that it would be the necessary for someone who's listening and watching to maybe ponder or reflect or meditate about their fears that they're feeling?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be my number one thing is it always comes from inside you.
Hmm.
Sometimes the doctors put us into fear and, you know, give us a prognosis, and it even exacerbates the fear. So we need to really look at, is this
Yeah,
fear make sense?
yeah, absolutely. I love what you're sharing, and what happens when we then look at our fears and we say, okay, it's not true, it's not justifiable. What happens then in the body? What happens in the mind when we help kind of dispel the myth of those fears?
Well, it's a big relief. It just helps us so much to just feel more at ease and to move forward, because most of our fears block us from moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So it's definitely necessary. It's definitely important. And I want to thank you for the work you're doing in this front because I think it will definitely help people. It definitely has helped me to look at my fears. And you're living proof that this definitely can transform one's life. Because you've lived quite a long time after that first moment where you felt that terror in your home and how we created that, not only psoriasis but even more serious diagnosis. And do you think that when we look at our symptoms, like we could kind of reverse engineer those fears? How does that work? I wonder if it goes both ways.
We can reverse if we look at what the fears are
Yeah,
and say, okay, this is just a fear. I do not need to do this. I can move forward in where my fear is right now.
yeah,
Many people are afraid to have another relationship because of the pain they're in the relationships that they're in. So they just need to say, well, is this true? Is it going to be in the next one? No, just move forward.
yeah, yeah. I love that. So, I think that you might say that fear is irrational.
It's irrational. Yes, absolutely, it's irrational. Like,
Yeah.
and there's no benefit to holding on to a fear. No
Mm,
benefit. So when
mm-hmm.
you recognize that you're in a contraction, you need to just relax and let it go.
Yeah, yeah. Now you touched something that definitely interests me a lot, because I'm single. Uh, so so what would you say is the fine line, in your experience between being cautious and being fearful?
Well, one of the things I think about relationships is that we really have to learn that we're okay by ourselves first. And when we know that we're okay to be alone, and like when I was younger too, you weren't whole if you didn't have a partner or you weren't married. So just to really know that you're good on your own and to get to know yourself and
Mm-hmm.
then have a relationship, and look at the relationship that you want to enter and make sure it's truly the one that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's okay to have kind of guidelines and to because I think, for me, um, I feel that being cautious is necessary. I didn't know if that was a story in my head, but they tell us to look both ways before you cross the street, and that's wise advice. I don't think that comes from fear that every time you're out and about you're going to get hit by a vehicle. But I think that if you never go out, that might be an irrational fear. But if you look both ways, that might be caution. So that's how I see it in my head. And you seem to be confirming that. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct. And I mean, if you don't look both ways before you cross the street, people say fight, flight, or freeze. But there's another one, fully present. If you
Mm.
become fully present, you know there's no cars and it's fine to cross the street. And you know that you're in charge of yourself in a relationship and it's fine to have relationships.
Oh, I love that. Fully present. Yes. Ooh, that
Feel
is fire.
fully present doesn't have fear.
Mm,
And love does not have fear.
yes. Wow. What about, because you talked about faith, but you talked about unwavering faith. So what does that look like?
Well, when we live in faith, we live in ease.
Mm,
You know, it's just the ease that knowing, it's like an internal knowing that we are okay.
yeah. Yeah. I love that. Love that so much. So powerful. So powerful.
Mhm.
Um, and my follow-up question for you is, how you decided to tell this story, but you have more stories to tell, obviously. So tell me about what you're doing to tell those stories, and why is it meaningful to you? And why you, with your very, very full life, make time to share your stories with the world.
Well, right now, my heart and soul, as it says, trust your soul. So
Yay.
trust your soul. That's a good part of having faith.
Yeah.
Know that your soul knows the answers.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm really wanting to do a talk. I want to speak publicly, and I also am writing a book.
Okay.
And I want to get this book published this year with the help of Alina.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell everybody why your soul is so excited about this book.
Well, it feels like I'm just on track with my soul. It just feels right at this
Mhm.
time of my life that I want to get my story out to help other people.
Yeah.
I think it has a
Wow.
lot to offer.
Yes, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, but I really love, and I want to highlight for our viewers today, I'm on track with my soul. That what a beautiful, beautiful answer. I love it. I love that. Am I fully present? Because when I'm fully present, there's no fear. And do I feel like I'm on track with my soul? I think that those powerful questions that you are sharing with the audience, and powerful statements, are really, really going to make a difference in how they operate and show up in their lives. And I know there's more wisdom where that came from. So I'm going to leave Lynn's information in the show notes. Her website is linnmckeown.com, and you're gonna see that in writing so that my very beautiful English, you can understand it better. uh, without my accent. And I say it pretty, right? I say it pretty. That's the story that I'm telling myself. But before we say goodbye today, Lynn, my lovely Lynn is what I call her. um, can you share with the audience one step? I know you told us already to look at the fear and to ask that question, but is there a step that we can take today after hearing your story, after knowing the truth about fear, after knowing what it's like to be in faith and also fully present, what would you say we could do today to get on track with our soul?
Well, I guess just look at your fears. Are they real? And remember, when we're fearless, there's no limit to what we can do and create. Our thoughts become things, and what we think and believe we create. So monitor your thoughts. And when you're in fear, know that that's going to affect what you create. And when there's no fear, there's no limit to what you can do.
Wow, I love it. When there's no fear, there's no limit to what you can do. Thank you so
And
much.
that's at any age. At
Yes,
any age.
yes, absolutely. We were just talking about that with Eliana and you. And
Ah,
yeah, and how at any age you can definitely be limitless.
yeah.
And you're living proof on the other spectrum of that, and I'm really grateful for all the wisdom that you shared with us today in the Transformational Storyteller show. Thank you for your time and for sharing your beautiful story. And everyone, thank you for tuning in today. I love you, so I will see you soon.
Thank you so much.